you? So what's it been like? What's your return been like after your epic Christmas and New Year?
Well, yeah. Well, it was a bit of from the lovely warm weather to freezing Britain again. So, but it was all right. Yeah, I love Cumbria. So do you know what
Yeah.
I mean? So it's fantastic being away, and it was a great little adventure and all those kind of things.
Yeah, yeah.
But you know, I'm just happy in Keswick, even when it's raining and miserable.
I know, but it's testing everyone to the limit right now, isn't it? It's like,
Oh,
okay,
yeah.
we've had enough
It,
now. Spring can come.
Yeah. Well, it's been this last few days have been all right, and
Mm,
we've promised with a decent, like a drier week, aren't we? So,
yeah.
which is nice. But yeah, no, it has felt as if it's literally rained or been windy and a bit miserable since we've been back. So months.
And I mean, it was like that while you were away, to be fair.
I know. Well, that is the bonus, unfortunately for you. At least, and mind you, the weather down there in Bali was a lot better than we thought it was going to be. But in
Okay.
Australia, it was quite stormy, and it was wetter. It was kind of cooler and kind of stormier than we were anticipating. So last time we went there,
Oh, really?
years and years ago, it was like 40 degrees. It was like ridiculously hot.
Mm.
Whereas this time it was kind of early to mid 20s. So it was actually really nice.
Oh, okay. Yeah, well, yeah,
So
it's
for
bearable.
us Brits who prefer it slightly cooler, it was quite
Yeah.
good. And it was funny on Christmas Day, we were like, saying, "Oh, she's not like Christmas is." And my little niece, I say little niece, she's taller than me, she's 19 now. She said, "Yeah, no, it's not like Christmas. It just doesn't smell hot enough." So isn't
Oh,
that bizarre? Like
yeah.
we want wintry and you know what I mean? And they're like,
Snow
needs to
to
be
us.
hotter. Christmas Day's all about being boiling hot and
Yeah.
going to the beach in
Putting a
your new
prawn on the
bikini.
Barbie.
Yeah.
Oh, well, that's good. I mean, it's an adventure, as you say. So, oh, lovely.
Yeah.
Um, but I see you've got a snazzy new website. It looks fantastic.
Yes. Yeah, yeah. So it's been brewing for a while behind the scenes, and it's yeah, finally come of age. And then we had a few technical issues yesterday with
Oh,
yeah, just with all these things. So basically, nobody could make an order for about 8 hours of yesterday.
oh, oh no. Oh, okay. That's
So
like, could you have any other issue except putting orders in?
I know. Well, no, the thing is, they could put an order in, but the postcode thing had messed up. So it said we couldn't deliver to any UK destinations.
Oh,
So that caused a bit of confusion amongst our customers. But anyway, it's all sorted now.
oh God. Okay. Well, I mean, it looks great. I mean, it is. I mean, as you know, I know what it's like with websites and designing them, and then
Yeah,
actually getting it out there and getting it usable. I mean, ultimately, it's that usable interface that people want, isn't it? That easy click buy
yeah, yeah,
and sorted. But it looks fantastic, and you've got the obviously the black and orange colors. Um, well, I mean, we could go back to the beginning. I mean, for anyone that doesn't know Mountain Fuel, shame on you. How did it all start? And what does the future look like? So let's go back to the beginning. How did you start your involvement in it?
yeah. So so Mountain Fuel started before I was involved. So my business partner Darren Foote set up Mountain Fuel. So he was ex forces coming to the end of his time in the army, and he saw kind of through his own needs from being out, you know, um, kind of on exercise and actually going out into various kind of countries and kind of fighting zones and things, that he felt that they were underfueled and undernourished at times. So he kind of started looking at and getting an interest in nutrition from that point. And part of his kind of leaving the army, he kind of did various kind of nutrition qualifications.
Mm.
And when he left, he kind of sat down with a sports scientist and they kind of developed the initial Mountain Fuel kind of system. Um, And, you know, at first they were kind of doing quite well for themselves. They got some involved, they got some kind of investment from some guys. But unfortunately, with all these things in life, there was a bit of kind of possible greed and manipulation behind the scenes by the people who got involved with, and it didn't end very well. And it ultimately ended with Darren kind of basically ending the relationships,
Okay.
but put him in a very difficult position because they'd affected the business quite badly financially.
Oh,
So, and that kind of timed well with myself, who had kind of been through a similar experience in a sense. You know, I'd had a ski travel agency business, and because my kind of background from that before that was kind of web design, promotion, virtual tours, all that kind of stuff. And we'd years and years ago got involved with these guys in the ski industry, set up a business with them. And, you know, we were pretty successful, decent office in London. We were doing 25, 30,000 ski holidays a year. And unfortunately, our fellow directors, me and my mate from up here and two guys from London, unfortunately, they got a bit greedy as well. And they tried to, you know, without putting a technical term on it, screw us over. That ended in a very nasty legal battle that did get very nasty, very personal. I won't go into details because it was horrendous at the time, but it all turned out in the end. We ended up, you know, several court cases and a lot of money later, and a lot of worry, getting some kind of settlement. And from that, I was kind of looking for a new business and something that I've kind of been. It's funny, people kind of said to me, you know, if you're not learn, you know, next time you do something, you have to be really careful and cautious. But it's kind of not in my nature. I'm just kind of like, you know, I kind of, my brother actually went to see Darren about getting Mountain Fuel taken over to Australia because my brother at the time had a gym. And he kind of came back and said, look, Rupert, I've met this guy. He's got this product. I think he'd really, really like the product. And he's looking for investment. And it sounds like he's in a pretty similar kind of situation to you, you know, so you've got a kind of lot in common. So we ended up meeting. I basically used the product for about 6 months. And it kind of then got to the point where, you know, it was kind of like if I didn't invest, then potentially
someone else would.
maybe Mountain Fuel could have disappeared. I didn't know it. So I was like, well, this is really helping my running. I mean, you know, I'm running really well, you know. I don't really want this product to disappear. So, you know, we talked and I got involved and we've kind of never looked back from there really. So, you know, but we've had a roller coaster ride, as every business does. You know, there's been things that have happened in the business over the years, and, you know, you've got the world economy, COVID, all these different things that affect you. But I think what we've tried to do, and I think what I kind of learned when I was in the ski business, we very much kind of attacked the market, and we kind of put loads of websites out there, and we tried to get a huge market share and got quite big and with lots of employees, and it, you know, and it kind of got, you know, just a bit too much really. And so with Mountain Fuel, I kind of just very much wanted to let it grow as it grew and let it be what it would be, and just kind of, yeah, we would do a little bit of marketing, a little bit of tickling, but we've kind of very much and it sounds a bit weird, but I've not treated it like a business, even though it is a business, but it's my passion.
Yeah.
And it's Darren's passion as well. You know, we're both very passionate about what we do, and we don't just produce products because we think they'll sell. Clearly, we want them to sell, but we produce products that we actually personally want to use ourselves first, or people around us want to use. And those are the kind of things that kind of influence our decisions. Like over the years, when I first started in Mountain Fuel, you know, my daughter wasn't a type 1 diabetic, but over time, unfortunately, her immune system shut down and her pancreas decided to stop working. And she's become an insulin dependent type 1 diabetic. And then on top of that, because her immune system shut down, she's also celiac, and she's got IBS, and she's got all these issues. And actually, that's been a real kind of eye opener to me, because suddenly she was faced with being diabetic, having to be very, very conscious about her use of sugars, of protein, how that impacts on the sugars, and a real awareness of her own health and how it affects her blood sugars. And that's quite aligned to sport, how much that food impacts
Okay.
on what happens with your blood sugars, with what happens with your energy systems. And then on top of that, with her becoming celiac, suddenly this extra cost involved with all these gluten-free products. It's like, it's almost as if you can add an extra £2 or £3 just because it's called gluten-free. So our morning fuel, for example, just used to be normal oats. I
Okay.
immediately changed it to gluten-free oats. Yeah, it cost a little bit more for me, but I didn't add the price to the consumer, because I just felt it's like, well, it's not a massive difference. It is a bit of a difference, to be fair. But I just I've been on the receiving end of having to fork out loads of extra cash, and just thought, well, I'm not going to do that. We're going to keep it at the same kind of price point. So with our Feel Good bars, again, we've made sure they're gluten-free. And again, we've tried to price them just the same as every else's bars. It's a tough thing, but ultimately, you would just want them to be as accessible and as helpful and useful to as many people as possible, and not penalize them for something that they've got no control. I mean, no control.
Yeah.
I think people get confused with type 1 diabetes and type 2 diabetes. And type 1 diabetes, you've got no control over. Your autoimmune system shuts down, boom, you're buggered. Same with people who are celiac, they've got no control over that.
Yeah.
So they're already being kind of penalized through some biological thing that's affecting them, and it's tough. So
Yeah.
then additionally financially hammer them as well when life's already pretty tough, I just think it's a bit
Yeah. Yeah.
unfair. So
And I think, talking to Darren, who, like you say, is just as passionate as you are. It's fascinating to talk to both of you, really. But for him, he said one of the main things for him was flavor and taste, that he wanted everything to taste fantastic. Because again,
yeah,
from the army, ration packs, all that, he said,
yeah,
it all tastes horrendous. And he said, I wanted something that was nutritionally good. And that's a huge achievement to as
yeah.
everyone that I know that that uses Mountain Fuel, it's because it tastes great as well as delivering the right
Yeah,
nutrients.
yeah, and obviously, look, the reality, everybody's so individual, aren't they? So it's impossible to kind of appeal to everybody's taste. And I think that's the other thing, is we've tried to just be realistic with ourselves and our own expectations, and accepting of other people's points of view and expectations and views. So yes, we try to make everything so that you would look forward to having it, you would look forward to tasting it, to using it after however many hours. And that's a kind of really important thing, the nutrition, isn't it? Because often what the mistake that people will make is that they don't take on board fuel, or whether it's solids or liquids, often enough. So if they've got something they don't particularly enjoy using, but they know they have to, then they'll often kind of put it off. And the problem with putting it off is that affects, your kind of energy levels and how quickly your body can react, and how that then impacts on your race and spoils it. So yes, we've tried to flavors, and the kind of that appeal of wanting to have that product is definitely well up there.
Well, as an endurance runner, I mean, it's key to not have that. Was it called flavor fatigue?
Yeah,
And that sort of having to get something in whether you want it or not. The sort of the jellies and things like that is so easy to get down, um, especially
yeah.
unlike
And,
so.
and I think the other thing is, I except also that actually not everybody wants flavor. So, we do also have our kind of flavor, well, as flavorless as they can be, because obviously you've got your natural flavorings from the natural ingredients that are within there. But, so we have our kind of our raw energy fuel, we've got our natural jellies. So they are the ones that kind of almost help reset your taste buds. Because like you touched on there with kind of flavor fatigue, doesn't matter how amazing something is, if you're on the go for 20 hours, it's, you do need a little mix of flavors going into the system, and there's a good chance you're going to get bloody sick if you only ever have one flavor, and you might not ever want it again because you get that sick of it. So it's important to have something that kind of offsets it and kind of neutralizes it as well.
Yeah.
And that's why we've kind of got those in the mix.
It can also bring back memories. I've got very strong memories of the tropical hydration that Hardmore's 55. I don't know why. I think I just bought a bag load of it for that race.
Yeah.
And forevermore, every time I have some now, it just takes me straight back to that race about 10 years ago.
Yeah. And that can be a good thing or a bad thing, depending on how the race went.
It was good. So any other plans? I mean, obviously the new website's probably taken up much of your time. Any other plans?
Yeah. So we've got the new website. We've actually been tweaking the bars. So we've actually got a slightly, the bars have kind of like evolved, like everything that we do, it kind of evolved. So the original bar, we felt was a bit too kind of like wide, and it wasn't a kind of good mouthful. It was kind of like, so it was a bit awkward to kind of just say to somebody, "Oh, just have one mouthful," because it was actually a bit wide. So we kind of changed the shape. But the problem when we changed the shape, because these are all hand baked, we've got some bakers in the Lake District, hand baked, and by changing the size, it actually changed the depth of them in the trays. That then impacts on how much moisture and coconut oil anyway. So we found that impacted on its the kind of mouth feel. So then we had another little tweak, and we weren't happy. But now we now think that we've got got it spot on. So we're kind of changing the bars ever so slightly, and we're also like, we've got like orange or turmeric, we've got double ginger, and then we had date, and we kind of felt that date on its own was, I actually really love the date bars, but it was maybe needed to have a little bit more. So the new date bar is actually going to be a date and salted caramel.
Okay.
And it's really nice.
Yeah.
Like, really, again, talking about flavors, it's just kind of like the issue with the date bar is that date's very kind of like it's quite sweet and sugary. So it's kind of like, it almost tasted a bit at times. I think some people kind of felt it tasted just a bit kind of like, almost like there's a bit too much brown sugar in there, if you see what I mean, because we've got natural date in it. Do you know what I mean? So that's the texture and taste. So anyway, so we've added a little bit of salted caramel just to kind of help offset that, and it's they're really nice.
Does that come out?
So they will be coming out with the new packaging, hopefully sometime in the next kind of four weeks. We're also like, with the website, we're just trying to kind of like, before we've got all these kind of nutrition guides, and before you had to download them, PDFs, and people on the phone's a bit of a pain. So now everything's just online. So now you just log in. You've got, you can log in, you don't download your guides. It just kind of expands them so you can kind of see them. So if you remember the site, you've got access to all the guides. So you'd have to individually download them all, which is a bit of a pain, to be honest with you.
Yeah.
And we're just looking at other things. We're kind of exploring, because for us, it's kind of like, we want people to enjoy their activity as much as possible. So again, going back to the kind of fueling thing, I wanted people to kind of feel like, yes, they look forward to having that product. So they would have a jelly, look forward to it, stick a smile on the face. It's like, oh, energy, and oh, legit, it tastes nice. Big fat smile, brain feels great, body feels good, you're flying. And so we then kind of thought, right, well, actually, people kept asking me. I spent hours every night responding to emails about how to fuel properly. People asking, oh, how do I use this? So that's kind of where I kind of came up with the fuel guides and wrote the fuel guides for all the different types of kind of races and scenarios,
Yeah.
just to give people ideas, to not to be necessarily be followed verbatim. It's just to give people ideas because everybody's individual.
Mm.
So the next kind of natural step to that is to again kind of look at what we can do to help beginners. So I think we're kind of exploring some kind of coaching, kind of online kind of coaching guides for beginners for different distances, because obviously there's lots of brilliant coaches out there, that, and people want that kind of one-to-one service, and and there's lots of people doing that, and I think that's really, really important. But I think equally there's lots of people starting out in the journey who don't want to invest in a coach. It's it's a lot of money out of the budget, especially nowadays, who maybe just need a help from a kind of more accurate kind of beginner's guide. There's lots of information out on the internet, and there's lots of useful kind of downloadable free guides, but I don't think they necessarily kind of, you can't kind of put any of your information in there. It's just literally, here's a Couch 5K program. Well, I work 7 days a week. How the hell am I going to fit in this training? Or I work 5 days a week, or I work 4 days a week, or I've got this, right? You know what I mean? So we're working on something that will be interactive, allow for factors within your lifestyle, but very much aimed at beginners. So it's almost like your introduction to a coach. And then if you want a real coach, well, we've got lots of access to coaches, and there's also lots of really good coaches out there that they can access. But we're giving them a bit of a taster of what it's like to have more structure to their training. And again, just another, I suppose for us, it's just like an add-on service to try to help those beginners to progress into their running journey, help them with their kind of how they train, help them with their fueling, help them enjoy the process. Because you kind of see sometimes, especially at the kind of bigger races, where somebody's like, say, I've got a marathon place, London Marathon, whatever, and they'll do one marathon. They'll like put all their training in, they'll do the thing, and actually they end up kind of hating it. They like the fact they've done it, but they kind of hate the process, and they kind of, it's a struggle. And that to me isn't what you should enjoy. Running is such a good positive thing, that if it's done in the right way, it's so positive and good for you that you should hopefully carry it on, and it shouldn't just be a kind of 12 months or 18 months and not doing it again. It should be something that is like, oh, love that. Let's do it again. Do you know what I mean? So that's kind of where we are. We're not trying to create record breakers. We're not trying to create the world's next best thing. We just want people to just enjoy what they're doing.
Well,
the time, place, all those things are irrelevant. It should just all be about enjoying it, and then your own personal progression. And if you feel that you want to get a PB in your next race, great. Let's see if we can help you get that. But ultimately, you can only get so many PBs in life. You know what I mean? It's like there's a lot of things in life you just plateau, and actually you've got to learn to love it and enjoy it, and then it doesn't really matter whether you have a good race or a bad race and a different race. If you're enjoying the process, you're enjoying the process. The outcome might not be quite what you expected, but there's so many factors that can impact.
Fun doing it. I think a lot of people, as you say, particularly at the beginning, just don't realize how important the nutrition side is alongside the training. People think, oh, well, I'm doing the training and I'm doing X miles a week, but without considering what's going in at the same time. I don't think you realize. I mean, certainly what you've just said is exactly what happened to me. I did my first marathon. I hated it. I thought it was the most horrible experience ever. And then, but then when I went to ultras and slowed down and ate at all the checkpoints, it's like, oh, I love this.
Yeah.
And that's, and that's essentially what all it's down to, really, is
Yeah.
actually, by
Yeah,
default, I was
you're
born.
basically fueling your brain. You're fueling your brain first, and
Mm.
then you're fueling your body. So you kind of like you've got to fuel both, so you can actually enjoy the process.
Yeah.
And I think I think it definitely is getting better. I think things are improving. I think when years ago, very much was a thing of it's like it was almost like a bravado ego thing that yeah, I can run X hours, I don't need to take anything and I can do this. And it kind of made people feel that they shouldn't or they couldn't, or, oh, if I'm seen having something, then, oh, I'm not this or I'm not that. So, whereas I think now it's much more acceptable. And I think people are starting to kind of understand and learn. And my thought to those people who've spent all those years, doing marathons and not having a drop of water, is that, hey, if you had a drop of water and maybe if you had, a few little extra bits and pieces, just think how better you
Yeah.
could have run. Just think how, but it's not just the run. I think what people don't understand is you're not fueling just for that moment. You're not fueling just for those few steps. You're actually fueling for recovery. So if you fuel well, you recover quicker. And if you recover quicker, so if you fueled well, you feel better afterwards. You don't have this massive crash. You don't have that exhaustion, your mental and physical exhaustion. So people talk about kind of runners' lows, don't they? People get really low after certain types of events because they've put so much into it, because they've literally drained their systems.
Yeah. Yeah.
So if you can fuel that system better, then actually that post run effect is more positive. So you look back on it fondly. You enjoy the process more, and more importantly, get back to what you enjoy doing most, and that's running. And getting back into the process again.
Yeah. And of course, that famous wall, as Ali Bailey said, there doesn't have to be a wall.
No, no, and there are so many factors to hitting the wall. It's like it can be pace, it can be weather, it can be there's so many fueling. There's lots of different things. Even just your mind, just your head.
Yeah.
But fueling definitely it helps keep that potential of a blow up further away. If you get that right, then it comes down to, am I pacing properly? Am I wearing the right kit? Am I making sure that in a boiling hot day I'm keeping cool and I'm not running quite as fast? All those different factors play into it. Or I'm running alongside this lad here. He's stick thin, and he looks to me like he could run 5-minute miles. And here's me, plodder, trying to keep up with him, looking at me watch, thinking, actually, I'm running 5-minute miles. Bugger. I need to slow down a bit,
Maybe not the best idea.
and it's all those kind of things that also aid hitting that wall. And it's just, there's just so many factors, but nutrition's definitely one that in the past wasn't as well kind of looked at.
Yeah.
Whereas now it is. But even like going back to kind of even the old school days, everybody talks, we've got Billy Bland up here, who broke a lot, all these amazing records and stuff. He used to make his own energy drinks.
Did he?
He used to make his own, he had his own little concoctions. He had his own way of fuel, just didn't tell anybody, So everybody's got their own thing that they do, and whereas now it's much more obvious because obviously, all these top end athletes, they're all sponsored, they'll get loads of free stuff. So it's splattered everywhere. So people are definitely more, aware of it and willing to try. And that's the important thing, just try different things, try things, find out what's worked for other people and give it a go yourself, and read guides, and it's experimenting and trying.
Yeah. Brilliant. Well, thank you very much. As always, it's a pleasure to talk to you and listen to everything about Mountain Fuel. It's great. And yeah, wishing you all the best for 2024.
Brilliant. Lovely. Thank you very much.
Thanks, Rupert.
Cheers, no problem.
Bye.
Bye.